Hello everybody and welcome to the third video of the Analytics Hamilthon. Yeah, at this point I no longer have the right to call it a month. Sorry everyone. Anyways, today, after a long hiatus, we're finally going to be talking about the Hamilton whose first name isn't Alexander.
Philip?
No, Eliza. What is wrong with you people?
With all due respect, Mr. Analytic, Angelica is way cooler.
I think she's just a more interesting character.
Yeah, the Tonys thought so too.
Why don't you just talk about Angelica?
Look, I have my reasons. First off, even though Angelica is absolutely great in the first act, no doubt thanks to Renee Elise Goldsberry's incredible charisma,
Excuse me, miss, I know it's not funny, but you gotta
she just isn't as prominent as people make her out to be, especially compared to Eliza. After all, Eliza is Hamilton's wife, and she does get the ever-important role of who tells your story, and her transition into that character is central to the show. And above all else, maybe it's just me, Eliza seems to be kind of an underdog in the fanbase. People always seem to have a deeper appreciation for Angelica, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I love Angelica. But it's always a little more fun to root for the underdog, which is why today on the Analytic we're going to be seeing what exactly makes Eliza
best of wives and best of women.
So if we're going to talk about Eliza, we can't not talk about her introduction in the Schuyler sisters. And by the way, here's some trivia for all you cool people. So as you would expect, Angelica has the most individual lines in the Schuyler sisters. But do you know who has the second most? Burr. In fact, Burr and Angelica have the same number of lines, with Eliza and Peggy trailing behind, with Peggy, the famously unimportant character of the musical, only having one less line than its lead heroine. And even then, Eliza's lines aren't exactly, well, revealing. Like, seriously, I would even argue that Peggy has more personality in the Schuyler sisters than Eliza does. And Eliza's first solo song, Helpless, doesn't exactly help her feel any less generic, even if it is a good song. And if you took Helpless as a summary of Eliza's character, the way you could with My Shot for Hamilton, or Wait For It for Burr, you probably wouldn't be too impressed. After all, in that song, Eliza does spend an inordinate amount of time watching people walk.
My sister made her way across the room to you. My father makes his way across the room to you.
And in that song, all she really does is love Hamilton, you know, not really passing the Bechdel test and making her a lot less impressive compared to the
Oldest and the wittiest and the gossip in New York City is and city is.
But in that same song, we also hear
I know my sister like I know my own mind. You will never find anyone as trusting or as kind.
And for the people who saw the show, they will no doubt recognize Eliza from the opening. So it does clue the audience into the fact that there's a little more to Eliza than meets the eye. And in Eliza's second solo, that would be enough, we get a glimpse of that little more.
Look around at how lucky we are to be alive right now.
In a brief and beautiful song, we see Eliza's kindness and empathy. While Hamilton fears poverty and hungers for fame, Eliza assures him that they can be happy. However, Eliza's reassuring Hamilton is a character-defining moment that really clues us into the true nature of her character. Someone who can appreciate the little things in life. Anyway, through her inaction, we get to say Eliza is something of a female Aaron Burr, not really doing a whole lot, but still providing moral lessons for Hamilton. But one of the less talked about aspects of the show is the Hamilfication of Burr throughout the play, as consistent defeat makes Burr ambitious. And I would say Eliza undergoes a similar change, albeit in a different way. This change first starts manifesting itself in signs of little arguments.
Look around at how lucky we are to be alive right now. They are asking me to leave.
And eventually escalates into Burn, where we see Eliza fully criticize Hamilton.
You forfeit all rights to my heart. You forfeit the place in our bed.
In this song, not only do we see Eliza admit to dissatisfaction the way Burr did in the room where it happens, but we get to see her turning that dissatisfaction into action. However, what separates Eliza from Burr here is how that action manifests itself. For instance, while Burr's actions included holding grudges and shooting his best friend in the ribs, even after Burn, Eliza knows when to set aside an argument, and she knows when people need love, which leads to one of the show's most powerful moments.
Forgiveness. Can you imagine?
And I think ultimately what Eliza is a messenger of love. Unlike Hamilton, who we'll talk about next week, or Burr, whose last individual lines are only said in reference to himself,
History obliterates, and every picture it paints me in all my mistakes.
Eliza's action manifests itself in an expression of love. She builds an orphanage and becomes the protector of Hamilton's legacy. Unlike grumpy old, sad old Angelica, who sacrificed and became bitter, Eliza tried to improve herself after she lost something. Unlike the vengeful Aaron Burr or the absolutely fabulous Thomas Jefferson, Eliza didn't use the power she had to hurt people. She used it to prop them up. to take care of other bastard orphans, to speak out against slavery, and make sure her husband's contribution to the country wouldn't be forgotten. And that discipline, that proper use of action and care for people really does make her the best of wives and best of women. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been The Analytic, and next week we're going to be finishing the Hamilton with an analysis of Hamilton's final words. If you liked what you saw, do subscribe. I'll see you next time.